Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis on Countess Flawless. Meet the real ruler of Vlad's castle. Count Vlad's wife and Vampiria's mother, Count Flawless, is 367 years old, but she doesn't look a day over 42. She doesn't show up much in big events, but everyone knows that nothing happens in Monstersylvania without her approval. And so here we have what's going to be the newest and latest Dark Legendary monster. I gotta say, absolutely stunning monster design, I love it so much. And also, one thing I really need to emphasize is that I am recording this video before the actual release of this monster, so it's very possible that something might change by the time this monster is actually released. And so with that out of the way, let's get into the monster analysis. Her power is 3,311, which in the dark category puts her in 31st place, tied with monsters like MMO Monster and Dark Skull. Her life on the other hand is 38,001, which is the highest life stat for the dark category. It beats Samael the Plague Carrier by 300 points, and even in terms of every single legendary monster, every single element, this puts her tied for 12th place with monsters like Igneous and Thetis' Bodyguard. And that stat itself, 38,000, this is actually the 8th highest stat, so she's incredibly tanky. And then what's even more interesting, because we have a tanky monster, we have a speed stat of 3,575, which is insanely fast. She is officially the fastest dark monster, outplacing monsters like Lostigos and Jabeline, who were the previous record holders in the dark category with a speed of 3542. So Count Flawless is officially the fastest dark monster, and once again, in terms of every single legendary monster that's ever been released, when we take a look at everyone, Flawless is tied for 3rd place with Gretchen, so she's insanely fast. The only monsters faster than Gretchen and Flawless are Mercurius and Cassia, which by the way, are not deny monsters, they don't have any control skills. But Countess Flawless, she does have deny skills, so she's officially the fastest control monster in the game. And seriously, how impressive is that? She's the fastest denier in the game, but she also has one of the tankiest lives in the whole entire game. And with that being said, her trait is immune to possession. So with this monster, you don't have to worry about the enemy using her against you, and when you're going up against other monsters that have possession skills, you can let them go first, you can let them do their possession skill, and then you can deny them. And then what's even more important is that she's available to use in a bunch of books. She's an undead monster, she's a families monster, she's a female monster, and of course she's a dark monster. And as for her relic, she can hold the trap relic, and she can also hold the essence relic. So for the essence, the most significant relic you can use for this monster is going to be Uriel's essence, because you're going to see she has a skill that you might need to rely on her coming back to life. So hopefully if you happen to get this monster, you can get your hand on this legendary essence, but if not, then just some other essence that can recover life for your whole entire team, then that could definitely come in handy. Alright, so on to the analysis. Her ultimate attack is called Rise My Dark Thralls, resurrects all allies with 100% life, applies double damage to all allies, gives 1 extra turn to itself. Take a look at this ultimate. It does a full resurrection if any of your allies are dead. She gets an immediate extra turn, and all of your allies, including yourself, gets double damage. That is a magnificent ultimate attack for this monster, considering once again that she herself has a Uriel's essence, meaning she can come back to life if she ever gets destroyed. She's also insanely fast, and she's also insanely tanky. So, amazing ultimate, there's no denying that. And with that said, let's move on to the regular skills, and we are going to take the time to talk about skills group 1 because I think they're definitely worth talking about and even worth running. So the first skill we have is Tremble and Fear, moderate dark damage to all enemies, 50% chance of applying nightmares to all enemies. And so this skill is a 30 dark based damage attack, 31 stamina cost, no cooldown, so we have a spammable AoE that deals 30 damage. That's pretty good, and on top of that, there's a 50% chance to apply nightmares, and nightmares will reduce the enemy's stamina by 10% for 3 turns, and reduce their HP by 5% for the next 3 turns. So it's pretty good. Moving on, we have Soul Fascination, 50% chance of applying possession to an enemy, 26 stamina cost, no damage, and once again, it's spammable. So we have 2 skills here that you can utilize if you ever get hit with cooldowns activated, and they're not necessarily bad, right? 50% chance to possess. If that 50% glitch is still going on, this is phenomenal, because it'd be a spammable possession skill, but even if that 50% glitch is fixed, well then you still have a chance to immobilize an enemy and control them, and then Tremble and Fear, just 30 damage AoE that has a chance to apply nightmares that you can utilize as much as you want. That's pretty awesome. And so when deciding on the skill set for this monster, I would say that both of these skills are honestly worth considering. And actually, even the other skill, it's a 40 damage, 22 stamina cost, 0 cooldown, 100% lifesteal skill that's spammable. And so I'm only mentioning this because there's another version of this monster that I think you could potentially utilize, but we'll talk about that later. So on to skills group 2, we have Dracula Wound, deals heavy dark damage to one enemy, gains as much life as damage out, requires cooldown, 55 dark based attack, 19 stamina cost, 1 turn cooldown, 100% lifesteal. We'll talk about that later. Fear Me, deals moderate dark damage to all enemies, applies nightmares to all enemies, requires cooldown, 40 dark based AoE, 27 stamina cost, 2 turn cooldown. Once again, this one is a guaranteed nightmares to everyone, assuming the attack actually lands. And Soul Domination deals heavy special damage to an enemy, applies possession to an enemy, requires cooldown, 45 special based attack, 29 stamina cost, 1 turn cooldown, and it's a possession. And so okay, Skills Group 2 doesn't honestly offer anything too interesting. They're basically like upgraded versions of Skills Group 1. Let's move on to Skills Group 3. We have Vampiric Laceration. Deals massive dark damage to an enemy, gains as much life as dealt. So here we have a 70 dark based damage to a single enemy, 16 stamina cost, 2 turn cooldown, 100% lifesteal. Whatever damage you deal, you completely recover. I gotta say, for the damage output, the stamina cost is extremely low, and the cooldown, it also isn't that bad. So this monster overall has 1, 2, 3 lifesteal skills, one of which is 40 damage and has 0 cooldown, the other one is 55 damage with a 1 turn cooldown, and the other one is 70 damage, 2 turn cooldown. So just keep that in mind. Moving on, we have Your Fear Will End You. Applies Nightmare Hater to one ally, requires cooldown. So this skill costs 18 stamina, has a 3 turn cooldown, and just gives Nightmare Hater to one of your allies. I honestly feel like this skill is extremely lacking. I feel like it doesn't do much for the cooldown. One of your allies gets Nightmare Hater. Okay, so assuming you were to run this skill, you would first have to give Nightmares to one of the enemies, and then use another turn to give Nightmare Hater, and then you can finally take advantage of the enemies having nightmares, or vice versa, right? You can apply Nightmare Hater and then give the enemy nightmares. I feel like this should do more. Maybe like gives nightmares to one ally and then gives yourself an extra turn. That way you can give nightmares to everyone. I don't know, I just feel for a Skills Group 3 skill, it's extremely lacking. I'm not going to be recommending this at all. So moving on to the last skill, and this is like what makes sure the fastest control monster in the game, Soul Sacrifice. Applies possession twice to one enemies. Countess Flawless will get 3 turns delayed kill, requires cooldown. And so this skill costs 47 stamina, has a 4 turn cooldown, and the cool thing about this skill is that it does possession twice. And so it's essentially like Talika and Yentek having double stun, not mega stun, but double stun, in which it applies stun twice. So if that first stun misses, the second stun might land. And this is, I gotta say, it's extremely valuable, considering more and more monsters are being released that have the tough trait, which is essentially the general trait, 35% chance to not get hit with a negative effect. So having 2 chances to apply some control skill, that is amazing, and that's what's gonna make Count Flawless a top tier denier, at least for offensive purposes. Because Flawless is realistically going to be your best chance to actually possess the enemy monster. Because if you just try doing possession on an enemy monster that has tough, or imagine a team of enemy monsters that all have the tough trait, you're probably not going to land in all 3 of them. You might not even land it on all 2 of them. You have a 35% chance to miss if you're using a regular possession skill. But with having a double chance to do possession, that's going to be super valuable. And again, more and more monsters are being released with a tough trait. There's a large number of good monsters that have the hardened trait. So I feel like this is going to become the new norm. More monsters are going to have double possession. They're going to have double freeze. That's one we haven't seen yet. Double chance to freeze. And we've already seen a couple monsters that have double stun. So more and more monsters are going to be released that have this double deny effect. Maybe we might even see double total blind. But with that being said, this monster specifically comes with kind of a drawback in which your monster will die in 3 turns. Right here it says 2 turns for some reason. So I don't know what the final thing is going to be. But regardless, there is that drawback that after you do your double possession, you will die. So you're going to need another ally that removes the negative effect, or maybe you're going to have to win before that actually kills you. Or like I said, if you have the relic, this is why it's super valuable. If you can actually get Uriel's essence, you can put it on the monster, and even if she does die, she'll just come back to life. So you're fine. In a war scenario, you're not going to lose a coin. And so with that said, this is a skill that makes her the fastest control monster in the game. And initially when I saw this monster, I was really thinking, okay, that's it. Like, she doesn't have too much to offer. You do this on the first turn, you possess the enemy monsters, then what do? You're probably going to do an AoE Nightmares, you can have single possession skills. I feel like that's all she really has to offer, possession and Nightmares. So I don't find it too interesting, but again, you can't disregard the value of having double chance to possession when too many enemy monsters are going to have hardened and tough traits. And who knows what's going to get released in the future. You know, if you fight VIP monsters, Nemesis monsters, some of them have a 30% chance to not get immobilized, 35%, some of them have the bull rug trait. And so the double possession is certainly very valuable, but at the same time, I will say that being a dark monster, there are so many monsters that are immune to possession, and we've even had the introduction of the War Master Necromancer, who gives your whole team immunity to possession. And so at the same time, considering there are so many monsters that are immune to possession, so many ways to give your team immunity to possession, it's kind of like this monster doesn't have too much to offer from a denial perspective. But of course, when you're doing a Team Wars battle, you can always look at your opponents. But that is really something to consider, because if, for example, more and more people get Necromancer, right, and they put him on defense, your Flawless isn't really going to be able to do much. You can start off with Nightmares, and you're going to have to wait until Necromancer's dead, so you can finally use your possession, but at that time you probably don't even need the possession. And so that's just something to consider. There's no denying that she's incredibly fast, she's incredibly tanky, and she has this double possession, which is great. But at the same time, you just have to be careful when you use the double possession, because once again, that also comes at that drawback of you give yourself a delayed kill. But with that said, if you do want to run this monster, the obvious route is give her 3 speed runes, run Soul Sacrifice, and then I would also say run Soul Domination, Off Fear Me, Soul Fascination, or Tremble in Fear. From these 4 skills, honestly, just pick the 3 that you like the best. That would be my recommended skill set for a 3 speed build on Flawless. I honestly wouldn't recommend Vampiric Laceration, Dracula Wound, because if you're running her with 3 speed runes, she's not going to be a damage dealer. How much damage are you actually going to recover with a Vampiric Laceration? I feel like it's not a lot. I feel like considering this monster, if she does delay kill herself, you know that life regen, it isn't going to be helping you. And so hopefully once again you have the relic to revive her, that way you don't really have to worry about removing the negative effect. But I really feel like the life steals on a 3 speed build really aren't going to help you. So I would just go with the possession skills and the nightmare skills, because that's really what her skill set has to offer. The whole single nightmare hater, I really don't think it's worth it. Maybe if it was a team nightmares, it'd be a little more valuable. Or again, if it was a single ally nightmare hater plus an extra turn, I could see it being used. But right now it's just, I don't see it as a great skill. And so that's the obvious build, right? You capitalize on her extremely fast speed, and you capitalize on this double possession. I do want to talk about actually let me say, I don't think this monster is good on defense if you do run it with 3 speed. Reason being, once again, there are so many monsters that are immune to possession. The existence of Necromancer, automatically, you put if you're facing Flawless, and she was super fast, she guaranteed went first. Honestly, it's not even a threat if you have Necromancer, because now your whole team's immune to possession, and essentially all you need to do is bring an ally who goes second in the turn order, and have them just have an AoE stun, an AoE freeze, and that way Flawless does Soul Sacrifice. Okay, your team doesn't get possessed, and then what? Your Denier can do AoE stun, and then Flawless, she's not even a threat. Again, she doesn't have other skills to offer. Maybe she has possession, maybe she has lifesteal. She's not gonna deal a lot of damage. She's a 3 speed build, and then possession, your team's immune to possession, so the worst she can do is do nightmares against you, and you've already mobilized her once. Her delayed kill is gonna kill herself, so you can kind of just work on the allies, and then Flawless will take care of herself. And so in terms of using Flawless on defense, I really don't think she's going to be the go-to monster, because like I said with Necromancer, even without Necromancer, you just bring a team of monsters that are immune to possession, and her main use is just, she's not even a threat. So for defense, I don't think she's valuable. For offense, she's definitely going to be valuable, especially against monsters that have hardened and tough traits. Now I do want to talk about the potential to use her as an attacker, which I think might be viable. Looking at her power stat, I know that doesn't seem realistic, 3311, but once again, keep in mind she is pretty tanky. And then looking back at her skills, 70 damage lifesteal, 55 damage lifesteal, 1 turn cooldown on the 55 damage skill, 2 turn cooldown, the potential to use a 40 damage spammable lifesteal, although I'm not sure if I would recommend that, but then her other skills is a 40 damage AoE that does nightmares, and then also Soul Domination, a 45 special base attack that does possession on a 1 turn cooldown. I think maybe the argument can be made to make this monster an attacker build, maybe a rainbow build, Flawless maybe, and I think that would actually work on defense. Whereas once again, the 3 speed one that relies on Soul Sacrifice, that does not work on defense. But if you think about it, Vampiric Laceration, and then Dracula Wound, Off Fear Me, and then Soul Domination, or you know, maybe you run Tremble in Fear or Bite, that way you have spammable skills. A 30 spammable AoE is actually a pretty good thing. Now the only reason I would consider maybe doing this is because once again, she's extremely tanky, and even though her power stat isn't high, if you want to put this monster on defense, she can be pretty hard to kill. Once again, because she has this essence, even if you do kill her, she comes back to life. And for trap relics, you can maybe, and this really all depends on what you have. If you have one of the newer legendary traps, or even Tyga's trap, they're all pretty good. After being hit, if warrior's life is below 50%, removes 45 stamina from target and deals X amount of points from thunder damage. This all depends on the level. After being hit, if warrior's life is below 75%, deals X amount of points of water damage to the attacker. After being hit, if warrior's life is below 50%, it deals X amount of points of light damage to the attacker. So maybe running one of these traps, or if you don't have these, then probably Oblation Trap just to remove stamina from the enemy. Those could actually really come in handy with her skill set of being able to lifesteal. So even if she drops below the requirement for the relic to activate, the relic activates, and then they lose stamina, they take damage, and then when it's Flawless turn, she can use one of her lifesteal skills, and then she recovers life. And so that could potentially be useful. Maybe a strength rune, a speed rune, and a life rune that could be one build specifically for defense. And so I don't know, I'm really curious to hear what you guys would think about that. It would definitely be run Vampiric Laceration, probably Dracula Wound, And then Soul Domination I think would be really useful. That way you have a possession skill and its special base skill. And then one of the AoE Nightmares, maybe Tremble and Fear just because it's spammable and that way cooldowns activated isn't an issue. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the 3 speed build Soul Sacrifice is just so straightforward. There's really no explanation to that. But again, it comes with so many drawbacks, and especially not being able to use her on defense. Because honestly, if I ever face a 130 Flawless that has 3 level 10 speed runes and her allies has team speed runes, I am not going to be afraid. I simply configure my team to be immune to Possessed, and she is automatically not a threat on defense. But if there's a Flawless that has a Rainbow build, well then I gotta be careful because she can deal a nice amount of damage. Even though her base power stat isn't that high, she has some pretty strong skills, she has spammable skills. If she has the Essence, I know she can come back to life, and if she has the traps, I gotta be really careful with her. So I don't know, I'm curious, what do you guys think about this monster? And so with all that being said, that is going to conclude my analysis on Countess Flawless. Now I want to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys think about this monster? If you had access to this monster, how would you build her? What skills would you give her? Why would you give her those skills? Would you go with the 3 speed? Would you maybe try to use her as an attacker? Do you think I'm wrong and you think maybe she is a good defense monster even with the 3 speed build? Or would you agree with me and say no, she's not usable? Or what? What is everyone thinking? What do you think about the skills, the runes, whatever thoughts you guys may have on this monster, please let me know in the comments below. I am really looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts because I really do believe this next generation of monsters are so unique, they're so interesting, they can be used a number of different ways. I feel like the meta is sort of shifting from just running typical 3 speed denier and then simply denying and then doing the rest with the attacker. I feel like there's so much more emphasis on monsters being immune to control effects. There's so much more monsters having tanky lives. There's so much revival in the game now. Just about every single monster element releases a monster that can revive someone. So I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts. So whatever it may be, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all next time.